I used to believe that if you just loved someone hard enough, long enough, they'd never drift away. I met Rachel in Charlotte, North Carolina, back when I was 27. I was working 2 jobs, days at a construction company, nights stocking shelves at Walmart. She was a nursing student. We met through her cousin at a barbecue. She had this laugh, man. It made people turn their heads. That laugh hooked me. We talked until 2 a.m. on the back of my truck bed, just swapping stories about life and childhood. I remember thinking, this girl's the one. Fast forward 8 years, and I was right. We got married, bought a little house on the edge of town, raised 2 dogs, and built a life. I had worked my way up to a foreman position, decent pay, long hours, but I didn't mind. She had become an ER nurse, night shifts mostly. We had a system. We weren't rich, but we were solid. At least that's what I thought. See, when you grow up like I did, dirt poor, no dad around, mom working 3 jobs, you learn early that showing up is everything. I swore I'd be a better man than the ones I saw growing up. So I made it a point to always be there. I'd come home, help with the laundry, cook when she was tired, rub her feet after a double shift. Even if I was dead tired, I'd still bring her snacks or surprise her with her favorite Dunkin' coffee when I picked her up at work. And I didn't expect much back. Just some attention, some closeness. That warmth you expect from the woman you share your bed with. But little by little, it started fading. Not all at once. That's the dangerous part. It didn't crash down. It slipped away quietly. It started with the bed. I'd lean in for a kiss, and she'd give me her cheek. I'd try to cuddle her, and she'd shift away. Some nights, I'd rub her back or kiss her shoulder, and all I'd get back was that whisper, "Not today, please." At first, I respected it. Maybe she was exhausted. Her job is hard, I get that. Trauma, long shifts, crying families, it messes with your head. So I backed off. I thought tomorrow, let her rest tonight. But tomorrow turned into next week. Then a month. Then 3. Soon, she stopped sitting next to me on the couch. We'd watch shows like strangers. Her phone was always in her hand, texting, scrolling, headphones in. I tried to talk about my day at work, tell her a story, and she'd mumble, "Mitchum," without even looking up. At dinner, she'd eat fast and disappear upstairs. No eye contact, no questions, no warmth. It felt like I was living with a roommate, one that didn't like me very much. But I kept trying. I'd send her flowers at work, cook her favorite pasta, ask if she wanted to take a trip, even just a weekend road trip to Asheville like we used to. Nothing. Always that look, the kind that makes you feel like a burden for even trying. The worst part, I started blaming myself. Was I not attractive enough? Was I boring? Too tired? Too predictable? I started showering twice a day, hit the gym harder, changed my haircut, bought new cologne. But no matter what I did, she just kept slipping further away. You know what really broke me? It wasn't the lack of sex. It was the rejection of connection. That feeling of reaching for someone who used to smile when they saw you, and now they flinch when you touch them. Every night became a ritual of humiliation. I'd try, even subtly, and she'd whisper it again, that same sentence like clockwork. "Not today, please." She didn't even say it with anger, just indifference. Like I was an obligation she had to shake off. And look, I'm not some fragile guy who needs constant affection. But when you go to work, grind all day, come home, try to be a good man, and still feel invisible in your own house, it eats you alive. I remember lying awake one night, staring at the ceiling fan spin, thinking, this is what loneliness inside a marriage feels like. Worse than being alone. You're unwanted in the one place that's supposed to want you. I never told anyone. Not my buddies, not my brother. Men don't talk about this stuff. What am I supposed to say? "Hey man, my wife hasn't kissed me in 6 months." They'd probably think I cheated or that I was doing something wrong. But I wasn't. I was just unloved. Every time she whispered, "Not today," a part of me died. And still I kept hoping. I thought maybe she was going through something. Maybe it's just stress. Maybe when she switches today, shifts, it'll get better. But hope gets heavy when you carry it alone. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Sunday. I got up early, made her pancakes and coffee, just like I used when we were dating. She came downstairs, looked at the table, and didn't even say thank you. She just said, "I'm not really hungry," grabbed her phone, and walked out the door. That was it for me. It wasn't the whisper that time. It was the nothing. No appreciation. No warmth. No recognition of the effort. I sat at the table and stared at those damn pancakes going cold. And I realized I'm not the problem. She is. Something in her gave up on me long ago. And I was too loyal to see it. Too kind to walk away. Too hopeful to stop fighting for something that had already died. From that day on, I stopped trying. I stopped chasing. I stopped waiting for her to choose me again. Because truth is she already had. And her choice wasn't me. It didn't happen during a fight. There wasn't some dramatic explosion or slammed doors or screaming. Nope. The day I stopped loving Rachel, really stopped, was the quietest damn day of my life. It was a Wednesday night. I remember that because I just gotten back from work around 6:40 p.m. I work construction. Same site I've been on for 5 years now, just outside Raleigh, North Carolina. I was covered in drywall dust, shoulders tight from the weight of carrying supplies up a 3-story scaffold all day. Came home sore, hungry, ready for a hot shower and maybe, just maybe, a moment of softness. But I didn't get that. I walked through the front door, and she didn't even look up from her phone. She was on the couch, blanket over her legs, the same position she was in the night before. Netflix on, some crime show, light from the TV flickering off her face while she scrolled on Instagram. I said, "Hey, I'm home," and she just mumbled, "MHM." I stood there for a second. That's when I realized I didn't feel anything. Not anger, not hurt, just empty. I used to come home hoping I'd see a smile, or that she'd ask how my day went. I used to crave that little connection, eye contact, a hug, hell, even just to put her phone down for 30 seconds. But I'd stopped expecting it months ago. And that night, I think my soul finally caught up. I showered, microwaved some leftovers, and sat on the recliner across the room. We didn't speak. We hadn't really spoken in weeks. Not real conversation, anyway. She had her phone. I had silence. That had become our routine. At around 10 p.m., I got up, walked upstairs, brushed my teeth, and climbed into bed. I reached out, almost out of habit, and placed my hand on her hip. Just a touch. Nothing sexual. Just human. She flinched. Didn't say a word at first. Then she whispered it. That same line I'd heard 1,000 times. "Not today, please." But this time I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel rejected. I felt done. And that was the last time I ever tried. From that moment on, I went cold. And not in some petty, bitter, revenge kind of way. It was peaceful, detached. I stopped asking for affection. Stopped waiting on her to notice me. Stopped hoping she'd touch my arm in the kitchen or curl up next to me on the couch. Instead, I gave her exactly what she'd been giving me, nothing. I woke up, brewed my own coffee, packed my lunch, left for work without a word. I started going to the gym after my shift. Got home late, showered, ate, scrolled on my phone, watched ESPN highlights, and went to bed without a word. And I could feel her noticing. She started watching me, quietly. At first, she didn't say anything, just looked confused. I guess she thought I'd be back to normal in a few days. But I didn't flinch. I didn't chase. I didn't ask, "Is everything okay?" the way I used to. A week passed. Then 2. I noticed little changes in her. She started putting on makeup more often, even when we weren't going anywhere. Her tone softened when she spoke. She started saying things like, "I made extra pasta if you're hungry," or "I picked up your detergent from the store." I said thanks. I always say thanks. But my tone was flat. I was polite, civil. But that fire I used to carry for her, gone. She'd climb into bed and try to face me now. But I'd already turned to the other side. Not out of revenge. Just because I no longer wanted to try. You ever seen a woman start to panic silently? Not in loud tears or drama. But that internal chaos where she starts sensing she lost something but doesn't know how to get it back. That's where she was. One night, maybe 2 weeks after the shift, she came into the kitchen while I was washing dishes. She stood behind me for a second, real quiet. Then she said, "Are we okay?" I kept washing. Said, "Yeah, I'm good." She waited like she expected more. But I didn't give it. Because for years I gave everything, and she gave me the bare minimum. She wasn't used to this version of me. The calm, unbothered, emotionally distant version. Because before, I was the guy who bent backward to make her happy. I'd plan dates, rub her shoulders, kiss her forehead, ask if she was okay 10 times a week. But when a man realizes his love isn't valued, he doesn't scream. He disconnects. I started spending more time out of the house. Hit the gym longer. Met up with my buddies more. Sometimes I just drive around listening to music, windows down, feeling free for the first time in years. And every time I walked back through that front door, I saw it in her face, the regret. She wanted me back, but not the man I had become. She wanted the old me, the warm, affectionate, eager to please husband who used to worship the ground she walked on. But here's the thing, he's gone. I didn't cheat. I didn't flirt with anyone else. But emotionally, I had left the relationship. It's funny. For years, she had all the power. She decided when we touched. She decided when we connected. She decided when I was allowed to feel wanted. And now, she's the one reaching out. She's the one lying in bed awake while I sleep like a rock. She's the one asking, "Do you still love me?" And I'm the one saying, "I don't know anymore." And it's not out of cruelty. It's honesty. You can't treat someone like a backup plan and expect them to stay the same. You can't say not today for a year and expect that one day he won't say not anymore. Now she sent me texts throughout the day, little things like, "I miss you," or "Can we talk tonight?" I reply, but I don't engage. I don't offer anything more than neutral kindness. She asks if I'm seeing someone. I tell her I'm focusing on myself. And I am. Because once you taste peace after emotional starvation, you don't want to go back. Once you build yourself back up from rejection, you don't crave validation. You crave freedom. And that's where I am now. I gave her every chance, every night, every effort, and she whispered not today. So now, I gave her silence. Forever. People think heartbreak always looks like someone packing a suitcase and slamming the door. But sometimes it looks like silence. It looks like two people lying side by side every night, but one of them is already gone. That's what happened to us. Well, not us anymore. Just her. I've already moved on in my head. I still live in the same house. At least for now. But the version of me who used to wait around for Rachel's affection, he's not here anymore. And now, she's the one breaking quietly, piece by piece, every night. It started simple, subtle. I'd be in the kitchen doing dishes, headphones in, nodding along to an old country song, and I'd feel her watching me from the hallway. Just standing there. No words. Just looking. Probably wondering when I became so unreachable. Too late. She used to whisper, "Not today, please," every time I tried to touch her. Now I don't try, and it's driving her insane. She's starting to realize that affection isn't just something you withhold like a favor. It's a bond, a glue. You starve a man emotionally long enough, and one day, he learns how to live without needing anyone, especially you. Lately, she stays up after I go to sleep. I hear her sometimes, crying into a pillow, breathing shaky. But I don't turn around, because for months, I cried in silence too. Not out loud, not in tears, but in frustration. In that hollow way a man feels when he gives his all and gets nothing back. Now she knows. One night, about a month after everything shifted, she finally broke the silence. It was a Saturday. I had come back from a gym, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat out on the porch. She came out after me, wrapped in a hoodie, barefoot, looking like she hadn't slept in days. She sat across from me and said, "Can I ask you something?" I nodded. I didn't even look at her, just stared out at the street, watching the neighbor's dog dig through their flower bed again. She whispered, "Why don't you touch me anymore?" I took a sip of beer and replied, "Because you asked me not to." She blinked like she wasn't expecting that answer. But it's the truth. She had trained me to keep my hands to myself. She conditioned me to expect rejection. Now she's shocked that I actually learned. She reached out, touched my hand on the table. For a second, it almost triggered something in me. Almost. But it faded as quick as it came. I gently pulled my hand away. Not to be cruel, just honest. "Rachel," I said, "I begged for your love for almost a year. All I wanted was for you to look at me like I mattered. I did everything I could to keep us close. You pushed me away every single time. Now I don't feel that pull anymore. That's just where I'm at." She sat there frozen. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. She just stared at me, like she finally understood the cost of her indifference. Since that day, it's like she's trying to rebuild something, but with no blueprint. She tries cooking dinner, leaves notes by my coffee that say, "Hope your day goes well." She asks about my job, compliments my haircut, even laughs too hard at my dry jokes. But it's all too late. The damage wasn't one big explosion. It was death by 1,000 cuts. When a man gets ignored long enough, his heart doesn't explode. It hardens. The most ironic part? Now she's the one craving me. Now she's the one leaning in at night, resting her hand on my back, trying to get close. Sometimes I wake up around 2 a.m. and see her curled up at the edge of the bed, just watching me sleep. I pretend not to notice. I used to do the same thing, lie awake wondering where we lost each other, wondering why she didn't care. Now, she's in my old role, and I have zero desire to switch back. You want to know the difference between love and obligation? Love shows up on the hard days. Obligation makes excuses. And that's what she gave me for too long, a list of excuses. I'm tired. I'm not in the mood. Not tonight. Just give me space. I gave her all the space in the world. Now she's drowning in it. And before you assume, no, I didn't leave her for another woman. I didn't find comfort in someone else's arms. I found it in my own damn peace. I stopped needing someone who didn't need me. Started taking long drives down to Lake Norman on Sundays, just to clear my head. Started reading again. Picked up an old Hemingway novel I'd never finished. I fixed up my old Chevy in the garage, something I hadn't touched in years. And I laughed again, for real, with old friends, at stupid jokes, with no weight in my chest. Meanwhile, she's walking around this house like a ghost, opening every conversation with, "Can we talk?" and ending every night curled up on her side, whispering, "Good night," hoping I'll answer. Sometimes I do. Most nights I don't. Not to be cruel, but because I already said goodbye, just not out loud. She asked me last week if we could go to therapy. I told her I'd think about it. Truth is, I won't, because therapy can't resurrect a version of me that she killed with rejection, silence, and coldness night after night. This isn't about revenge. It's about self-respect. It's about realizing that love without reciprocation is just emotional labor with no reward. Now, she's the one sitting in the kitchen at night, staring at old photos of us on her phone. Now, she's the one replaying memories, wondering when the light went out of my eyes. And me? I'm not angry. I'm just done. I show up for myself now. I give my love where it's returned. I don't beg anymore. I don't chase anyone who looks away when I reach out. And the craziest part? The more I pull away, the harder she clings. But the more she clings, the more I remember the months I begged and got nothing. She created this distance. She trained me to survive without her. Now she's realizing that independence has a price, and it's loneliness. Every night she whispers goodnight like a prayer, hoping I'll respond. But I already did. Why stop trying?